Someone who's going to be at the top of the game for a very long time.
I've never seen anything like it.
It's very hard to rebuild your ranking, that's for sure.
Confidence with all my body.
You can never write off these great champions.
Djokovic, so impressive.
You could make the game look ridiculously easy.
Agassi. So mentally tough, great competitor.
Viva Carlito.
Just amazing what he's accomplished in his career.
Insanely good. Federer is just a little betterer.
You can never write off these great champions. When you talk about Roger,
You obviously saw this amazingly gifted tennis player and athlete who could make the game look ridiculously easy, and add to that how much he loved to play the game.
When he comes back and wins the Australian in 2017, he wins Wimbledon in 2017, it's an incredible achievement at his age against two superhuman tennis players in Nadal and Djokovic.
it was just extraordinary, and then climbs all the way back to the top of the rankings.
Most probably an achievement that we should put up in the sky, which one of the best of all time.
The ranking fall is not as much as some of the others that we've seen, but for Roger to have that belief and the work ethic after having done so much in the game, that was an extraordinary time in tennis. Everyone was talking about, this kid is really good, he's going to do great things. You go out and you watch him say, yes, he will. But to be able to do it so quickly is what has been phenomenal. When you think about Novak Djokovic, we don't have the massive ranking falls of some of the other players that have been injured and managed to come back to the highest parts of the game.
You got to look at the ranking and say, okay, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm not 22 in the world. I'm 1, 2, or 3 because that's how I feel, even though the computer doesn't show it. And I think Novak, he took a little bit of a different route.
Where things went bad for him for a little while, he had to adjust serving techniques. He had to find a way to get around that. He also went back to the well, where you go back to what feels good and the people around you that make it happen. And of course, Marion Vita was a big part of making that change again, from him to come back from mid-20s in the rankings to get back to #1.
For Novak Djokovic, I mean, he's still on that crusade where every day is a new day, and that's why he's breaking all the records to me.
Big serve, huge forehand. You hear so many players now, when they admire someone's forehand, it's Juan Martín del Potro.
Resilience is the thing that stands out for me about Juan Martín del Potro.
To me, is most probably, in one way, the most encouraging case, but also the most sad in one way, because he clearly had the game that challenged the big three, or let's call them the big four.
Having Murray, Djokovic, Nadal, Federer, all in his way, and yet one of the ones that was able to get a Grand Slam title. 2009 US Open, an incredible job.
Beating Novak Djokovic for the bronze medal at the Olympics here at the All England Club.
When he was playing so well, he actually ended up having to deal with a lot of injuries, lost his ranking out of the top 1,000 in the world, and was able to work his way back to #3 in the world, which is absolutely incredible.
So he had the game, he had the belief, he had the size, he had the weapons, and unfortunately health issues wouldn't allow him to compete at all the time, because I think he would have been the big disruptor in the big four, and he would have won multiple majors would he have been healthy.
He's the modern day Rafa.
So I've been around tennis 30, 40 years, and there's only been 3 people that I've seen that have had this incredible rise to the top of the game.
I think the guy's an animal.
That breakthrough that Carlos Alcaraz has had in the ranking is something that I can't really relate to.
We saw him become a Grand Slam champion and #1 in the world as a teenager, but he's still continuing to look to improve.
I think most of us that won slams at a young age, we didn't rise to #1. We won the second Grand Slam before, and then the third. And for me, I actually won 7 before I got to world #1.
For me, that's incredible signs. That's is a sign of a champion.
He's got a bit of Roger, he's got a bit of Rafa, and he's got a bit of Novak. He's watched these people, and it's part of the reason that he's been able to get to #1 in the world.
So Carlos Alcaraz is there for a reason, and he's going to be there for a long time at the top.
When you think about Andre Agassi, you think about the blue denim and the long hair, and who is just incredibly dynamic.
Well, Andre Agassi is a little bit of a different case from a lot of players because he had already won a slam and when he took his dip in the rankings.
And I remember he entered a challenger in Las Vegas, and that was the start of his resurgence, his rebirth.
He could have gotten wildcards anywhere he wanted, but decided to go out and play challenges.
Someone that understood the ranking but didn't want to use his wildcards too much, even though he could have.
To see him get back to world number one, I think, was just an incredible story.
You know, he's one of those guys who continues to give to the game of tennis.
You know, emphasised his passion and resilience within the sport.
Coming from Australia, I mean, Lleyton Hewitt is a legend.
Hewitt's one of the greatest competitors our sport has ever known.
A very, very young number one in the world.
A legend in different ways, because when he came along, I was playing as this young kid, really just in juniors, and you think, oh, he's a nice player. Then all of a sudden, he wins Adelaide. I think I was in the semis of that tournament. You go, no, that's not possible.
Lleyton Hewitt beat Pete Sampras in the US Open final, and you thought, well, how can this little guy play that style of tennis in that era?
Biggest thing I'd say is just his mental competitor. It's from the first point to the last point.
Because of the competitiveness, I mean, he's able to then win a major so young.
What I loved about Hewitt was the drive, the desire, the belief.
With guts, with mobility, with tennis IQ, that was enough to get to number one in the world and of course win Wimbledon and the US Open.
So I'd say I want them to play for my life because I know he's going to leave everything out on the court. That's Lleyton Hewitt. Well, Thomas Muster was one of the best competitors that you could ever come up against.
It's very hard to rebuild your ranking, that's for sure. Thomas Muster was one of the first really to do that and to take it to the next level.
He was playing great tennis and then, got hit by a car in Miami and really messed up his knee. And
one picture stands out in my mind of him sitting on a court with his leg up on a bench, still out on the court hitting forehands, and there was no stone left unturned.
It was plain for everyone to see his hunger, desire.
Not to just get back to the game, but to get back to the very top of the game.
Thomas Muster, I mean, he kind of used the ATP ranking to his advantage by planning his schedule and got back to the top.